just went off.
Yep, I have 2:15. So Neil, whenever you're ready, you're going to run the slides, right?
That's right, yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, thank you for being here. We're going to skip the introductions because there's so many of us and instead go right into the presentation. And I'll ask, is my screen shared? Not yet, huh?
Not yet.
I'm going to go ahead and do that and ask each of the presenters to do a brief introduction of themselves. I love this kind of presentation because it's a community presentation that is being presented by the community. I could have even potentially reached out to a couple more folks to participate, but we have a pretty good sized cast, so we'll
yeah, and let me just say, this was a really hard one to schedule because so many people were presenting at other times. It was like, it was impossible almost, and we couldn't get everybody that we wanted, so yeah. a lot of great community stuff going on. So.
Yeah, there really is. There's so much going on. And here are the people just that are presenting on this particular presentation. Of course, there are many, many more people involved in the community, so you can see who we are and get our picture. And framing the presentation, you know, open source is all about participation. That's what makes open source go, which is what Sakai is, 100% open source software. And sometimes people pop up and start participating out of nowhere, which is really, really cool. That includes things like code contributions or helping with QA or with creating the help docs. There's lots and lots of different ways to participate, as you'll see, as we go through each of these options, each of these groups. Participation has many benefits in addition to improving the Sakai software. In fact, at the other community presentation that was done, we did a little survey, and the number one thing that people get out of this is it actually helps them with their job. So if your institution's using Sakai and you participate in the community, it's very likely it's going to help you with your job. But there's many other benefits too that we talked about in that earlier session. So we're going to talk mostly about what's happening right now, what the groups are doing, and whether, you know, who's invited to attend and how you can plug in. That's the main focus of this one. So this is a screenshot of something called GitHub, and these are something called pull requests. As I mentioned, developers, Sakai is totally out on the open. It's published out on GitHub, and if you're a developer, you can download code. You can download Sakai, make a change, and ask to have that change incorporated, a fix, a new feature. There's a process for how things get put, you know, integrated into Sakai or not integrated in Sakai, and that's beyond the scope of this discussion, but I wanted to just show you that that is completely open and it's out there on the web and anyone can access it. The Sakai core team is mostly developers. I'm not a developer of Sakai, but I'm on the core team call pretty much all the time. The current work is working on the Sakai 12 release, as you could imagine. We are accepting pull requests for bug fixes, mostly for Sakai 12. Planning, we're getting community feedback on whether an 11.5 release is needed. So in Sakai, we have major releases like Sakai 11, Sakai 12, eventually a Sakai 13. And then after we release, we have maintenance releases where primarily the community focuses on fixing bugs. The latest community release that's supported is Sakai 11.4. There's plenty of fixes that have been done against 11 where we could release 11.5, but we're really focused on getting 12 out. So we're trying to get community feedback on, are there additional resources for 11.5 or not, to get that out now or to get it out later. So that's one of the things we're planning. Really, every meeting is like a planning meeting. We talk about what's going on and where we're at and what needs to happen. There's also detailed work like code reviews and merges. So they look at the PRs, those pull requests, and they review them. And then if they're not up to the standards, Sakai standards, they'll put feedback for the developer and say, please, you need to make this code accessible, and here's how you do it, or you need to be using a different library that's more up to date, or whatever it is. Meeting times are Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, except today, because it's a Sakai virtual conference. They are open meetings. They do get techie at times, but we also have people that jump in a meeting here or there to ask a question, and that's perfectly okay. People, you know, the QA team sometimes jumps on there and asks questions about QA, and Sakai core team is very receptive to that. We could certainly use more help on the core team, reviewing pull requests, running the nightly servers. There's many opportunities for participating. Easy way to get involved is show up at meetings or respond on the Sakai Dev or core lists and help answer questions or help ask questions that may help the community. So I'm not sure if I'm getting through. I guess I'll need to move on to the QA one. So
yeah, just not to interrupt you too much, Neil, but I'm trying to keep the time. Do you want me to time you at 3 per slide?
Yeah, time me to keep me, because we have so many presenters on this. We have to keep the time going pretty fast. So
okay, timer's running for the QA slide.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. So the coach here is Dee Dee, but she was really busy on other presentations on Sakai virtual conference today, so she just let me do this one. Current work testing Sakai QA 12. It includes Easy QA, QA Kid, QA Maven, Easy Maven. These are all different levels, so if you want to help participate, and we need the help, because one of the big factors of getting out the release, having a quality release, and the time, how quickly we get out a release, is the amount of QA participation we get. So please consider helping. Planning. Yeesh, give us a break. We're trying to get through this release. So we actually are planning. So I probably shouldn't have put that silly sarcastic remark on there, because we are trying to think of ways we could improve QA process for the future. So that's not really a true statement there. Even as we're doing testing on 12, we're trying to think, well, how can we improve our use cases, our test cases, so that we can modularize them better and in the future track them better. So we really are doing some planning, but it is a challenge doing that while we're doing 12. Meeting times, we have a couple different meetings. We have a planning meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. That's primarily focused on planning, on thinking communications. And then on Thursdays, we have our test fest at 9:30 a.m. is an onboarding for anyone who wants to get involved. Maybe you have questions or you don't know how to get started with QA. We can help point you to documentation, answer your questions, maybe even go step by step with you through the process to help you get started in QA. And then 10 a.m. is for our test fest, where people who are testing bring questions about problems they're, challenges they've run into, situations they may not understand, or just let's do some testing on a tool. So we meet, twice a week, and we have a room just for us called Sakai QA. Key issues, we need more QA testers, and we also need a bit more communication among the people who are testing. People have been super busy, and so it's not many people have been showing up at the meetings, but I think those meetings are really vital. How to get involved, reviews Sakai QA documentation. Go to the Sakai 12 QA Hub, which is a link off the documentation. Consider signing up and getting started in QA, and there's free training and friendly onboarding. That was friendly, right?
Yep. you got 20 seconds to spare. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's an example of the Sakai QA homepage. When you go to qa.sakaiproject.org, there's how you access the Sakai 12 QA Hub, and so we try and keep the documentation as up to date as we can. It's an ongoing process. So we also appreciate the feedback on our documentation. But that's really it. We just want to make it easy for people to get involved in QA, and it's a huge factor in the success of the Sakai releases. Now I'm done.
Okay. Cool. Next. Who's next?
I think you are.
I'm next. Okay, I'll time myself. So I head up the Sakai Docs group, and right now we're working on the documentation for version 12. We're updating all of the Sakai 11x documents, updating all the screenshots, adding new material for new functionality. So any changes between the versions we're kind of going through. We can always use volunteers. So if you're interested, even if you don't have a whole lot of time to contribute, but you want to just do an article here or there, please let us know. You can contact either me or Neil, and we'd be happy to add you to our list of contributors, because it's definitely a group effort, and it's something that you don't need to know a lot about coding. writing. Any end user can write documentation. It's really just looking at it from the end user's perspective. And a lot of the work we're doing right now in updating existing documentation is really just kind of going through, making sure it all still works the same way. And if there's something that has changed, then just making that correction. So it's pretty easy as far as the updating part. Right now, that's kind of our focus, but in our planning, we also are looking ahead, and we sometimes discuss this on the monthly calls about the overall documentation effort for Sakai, not just the end user, the online help for Sakai, but also the like the stuff that's in Confluence and some of the technical documentation, and how can we make that overall architecture more functional, more effective for people, help people find what they're looking for quicker. So we've had some discussions along those lines as well. So that's another thing for the future that we're looking toward. We meet monthly, first Friday of the month at 10 a.m. Eastern in Big Blue Button. You can drop into any of those meetings. They're open meetings, just like all the other community meetings. They are on the Sakai calendar, so if you're interested, you can sign up for the, subscribe to the calendar and have it added to your actual calendar so you get a reminder. Our key issues as a working group are just ensuring that the documentation is comprehensive, up to date, and user friendly. And we do also, time is usually an issue for everyone, but we'd like to incorporate more video documentation as well. There just hasn't been a whole lot of time to go around to develop it. So we are very interested in folks who are looking at maybe doing some screen captures if they're doing something locally to incorporate that kind of video documentation into our overall documentation set. So you can get involved a few different ways. There's a style guide and some info on Screen Steps on Confluence. Screen Steps is the software that we use to do the editing. You can also subscribe to one of our mailing lists or to the Slack channel if you're on the Apereo Slack. We actually have a Slack channel for documentation. So any of those ways you can get involved. We're always happy to have new people.
And I just wanted to add that if you have any questions as we go along, please chime in. Or at least put them in the chat and we'll keep track of them so we can answer them at the end. That might be a better way. All right, so ready for the next slide then?
Yep.
All right. Sorry about that. I just want to put that plug in. Oh, there's a screenshot of what the help documentation.
I forgot that was in there.
There you go.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
That's steps, and then in the background, that's the online help tool in Sakai.
Yeah. So a question is each presenter steps up, can you let us know what volunteer positions you need and what type of work it is? So hopefully if we answered that, okay, so I'll keep track of that for the end. And we'll move on to the next slide. But I think we've been trying to answer that as we go along. So, but we'll get more into that at the end of this.
Hi, so I'm the new chair, this is Tiffany, I'm the new chair of the Sakai Accessibility Working Group as of a couple weeks ago. And our current work is working with Level Access, that's our auditor who is testing for Sakai's accessibility. So we're working with them to do regression testing to get an audit and a VPAT, and now I can't remember what that stands for. It's a voluntary something of accessibility template. It's a statement of the relative level of accessibility of a piece of software. So they are going to be doing a regression test where they examine all of the things that they tested in Sakai 11 and repeat those tests in 12 to make sure that we have fixed the issues they identified, and also to indicate where there are still issues remaining for accessibility. Oh, thank you, Tricia. Voluntary Product Accessibility Template is the VPAT. So we're waiting on a release candidate now for Sakai 12 for Level Access to do that testing. We meet every other Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Our next meeting, I believe, is tomorrow. So I'll be sending out a reminder on the email list probably tomorrow, since I'm a little late on it today. Our key issues are ensuring that Sakai is accessible and usable by all, including those with disabilities, and improving the instructions and options for content creators, such as instructors, so that they can author accessible content for their sites and make it available to their students. So how can you get involved? Join the meetings. If you do a search for Sakai Accessibility Working Group, and the link is also in that slide, but it's kind of unwieldy, you'll find our homepage, and you can add the meetings to your calendar from the Accessibility Working Group site. And also communicate on the mailing lists, the Sakai Dev or Sakai User mailing list, and it helps to include in brackets A11Y, that's the accessibility tag. The 11 in the middle is the 11 letters that are being abbreviated out of accessibility. So if you add A11Y in the subject in brackets, that will help us to know that you're asking a question for that group.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Somehow my cursor got off the group and it's not moving. Where did my cursor go? Sorry. Oh, here we go. Okay, get there. Oh, there we go.
Hello, Miguel here. I volunteered as a internationalization and localization chair, I think 1 month ago, and I found several issues around this, because the documentation is huge and it's not clear. There is no way to get the status of the different languages, the true status. Of course, English is 100% because it's the default, but the other languages, it's pretty hard to get the status. So I want to help in this case, because we use Spanish, we use Catalonian, and also we use Basque. So we have 3 languages, and we take care about the health. Also, we suffer about internationalization problems around decimal separators, dates, and we're very happy with the status of the product, because we've done a lot of good work since 2008, I think. So my main work now is I reviewed the internationalization issues in Jira and GitHub. So I review the source. Now I'm collecting all the language leaders or contacts. I mean the responsibles of every single local or language. Now I'm building a proposal to provide translations easier than the usual, because nowadays the user needs to have technical knowledge and at least needs to do GitHub pull requests. So it's not easy, especially for translators. So we want to build a proposal to provide translations in a collaborative and standard way, and let the developers do the technical stuff. Okay. Also, I also want to build reports about the localization and internationalization status, because it's very useful in terms of marketing. Because every time I do commercial mission, I've been asked about the status of a particular language. What's the status of the Italian, for example? And I need to provide numbers, and these numbers are pretty hard to get at this moment. Okay, and also I'm working on updating the Confluence spaces and the documentation. Okay, there is no special meeting times. We can get a slot in the core meetings, because I'm usually there, and I also check the Sakai Dev list and the Sakai core list. So if I can help any translator, or I can help any developer if they have doubts about contribute languages or resolve internationalization problems. Okay, these are the main key issues at this moment, and I think we are doing good progress here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are you so I can I guess move on to the next slide. Ready for the next one? Again, I lost my cursor. There we go. All right, LAMP.
Okay, so this is Martin Ramsey. I'm the managing director of the LAMP Consortium, and I suppose we're a little bit different than some of the other folks who have talked about the different communities within Sakai, in that we're this group of colleges and universities and other educational organizations that have banded together, and we share a single instance of Sakai, which is kind of weird. It's hosted by Longsight for us. We're currently on a release 11.4. And we do other software, Verisight, Big Blue Button, and so forth. We've got the open source Karuta project going. And our main purpose is to sort of support faculty development, interface with the other administrative systems, and all that. It's sort of it's what you need to be able to run Sakai if you're a very small institution. So our focus is on small colleges. I like the format that Neil gave us here for sort of the planning. Is that overall we're just trying to improve our own community, and that we have some specific projects going on. For example, I'll put in a plug for the EvalSys project. That's the tool, the contrib tool within Sakai for course evaluations and surveys and so forth. It's not quite done, and so we're working to try to get it done, which means we need a little bit of funding, and I'll just go ahead and say it. We're less than $1,000 away from being able to pull the trigger on actually moving forward with getting that particular project done. So if you would like to join us, we'd love to have you. We're also working on skin standardization because we have 18 different institutions. It's really important to us that skins are done easily, and so we'll talk about that. I'm going to do a presentation on that later and so forth. We do have a monthly web conference the second Thursday of each month at 2 p.m. That's Eastern time. You'd be welcome to join us if you'd like to. We do a lot of shared governance stuff, decision making. We educate, talk about things, planning, and so forth. And all you have to do is ask. We'd love to have you be a part of it. When we were asked what our key issues were, I thought, that's interesting. Teaching and learning for sure. Engaged faculty, we want to get that, and students, of course. For us, I think a lot of it is just leveraging precious resources. Our schools are so small that we don't have a lot of extra resources to go around. So I think that's kind of the reason that we exist, is to help out with that. The fact that we are a multi-tenant instance of Sakai does have its own challenges that we have to deal with. And we're also working on ongoing improvements, which we talk about via JIRAs and farm projects and so forth and so on. Neil, if you could go to the next slide, just right quick. One of the big things that we do is our summer conference, which we call Lamp Camp, and it's open. We would love to have you. In fact, I will put in the chat here the URL for so you can just go to the website and check it out. But we'd love to have you come to the conference this year. Neil's been several times. I think he kind of likes it, and I'll stop there. Oh, Ron's asking, where is it located? Yeah, most likely this year it will be in Berea, Kentucky, my hometown, at a lovely facility called the Boone Tavern Historic Hotel, which is a really neat place.
All right, now up is Sakai Marketing, and I'll mute my squeaky chair.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Burgess. I'm from the University of Virginia. I'm going to talk very briefly about the Sakai Marketing Group. The image that you can see on the right of your screen there is an image from the updated Sakai Project website, which is one of the projects that the marketing group has worked on in the last few months. Generally, we meet 1 to 2 times a month on Friday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and that can vary somewhat depending on the time of year and the availability of the group members. Some current things that we're working on right now: we're working on a marketing plan for Sakai 12. Those of you who have seen some chatter about Sakai 12 or seen some presentations at lightning talks or other events know that there are a lot of really exciting features that are coming with Sakai 12, and so we're working on a marketing plan to share all those features, all of that goodness with the larger world. And Josh Wilson from Longsight and Jeff Pash from New York University have been really doing some excellent work leading the way on that front. We're also working on a general marketing plan for Sakai as a whole, for Sakai as a system. This is something that a lot of people within the community have been talking about for a long time. This is something that Laura Geckler from the University of Notre Dame has talked about a lot, and this is something that we want to continue to form and use as a Sakai community going forward. We're also always working on user stories. We've found that stories from individual institutions about the ways in which Sakai has helped their faculty and their staff and their students learn is really, really effective in terms of reaching out to both existing users to use Sakai more and potential new users. So we're always looking for those. You can check out some user stories that we already have on the Sakai project website. UVA has one there, Duke has one there, some other schools have posted those as well. And if you're curious about that, you can always reach out to the fabulous Neil Caden, neil.caden@apereo.org, and he will be happy to help you with that as you put those together. Some key questions that this group is usually thinking about, some big picture questions. What is the essence of Sakai? In marketing terms, we might refer to this as its brand identity. What are the things that define Sakai? What are the actions or what are the adjectives that we associate with it? And what are the adjectives that we want others to associate with it, which is just as important. What makes Sakai special? The kinds of things that set Sakai apart as the edtech world gets even more crowded and continues to evolve. And how can we sell Sakai? And when I use that word, obviously I don't mean it in the traditional sense, since Sakai isn't a commercial product in the way that Canvas or Desire to Learn is, but all successful products, whether they're commercial or other kinds of products, need strong, powerful messages that really advocate for their use. And in this way, we're always thinking about how to sell Sakai vigorously, and that's what this group is all about. So if you have background or interest in communications and marketing, and you're interested in helping us develop some strong, consistent messages that define Sakai, we'd love to hear from you. Send an email to Neil. This is a closed group, but we're always looking for new interests, so send an email to Neil.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Let's see, I guess we will go on to the next slide. It's teaching and learning.
Hey, thanks, Neil. And I know, oh, I don't have a second slide. Okay. So, hi everyone, I'm Tricia Gordon at the University of Virginia, and I co-facilitate the Apereo teaching and learning calls that are scheduled the first and third Wednesdays of every month at 10 a.m. This group was formed in 2007 to bring a teaching and learning focus to Sakai initiatives. So if you are the kind of person who focuses on teaching and learning at your own institutions, this would be a great group and call for you to join and participate on. A couple of initiatives that have occurred in the past that the teaching and learning group gave input on and guidance on is the Lessons Enhancements Project that I think Wilma, you led that group, right? As well as the Sakai Tests and Quizzes Enhancement Project, where that group focused on adding new question types and improved instructor tools. So, you know, it's a group that does focus on, the teaching and learning group is a group that focuses on making improvements with teaching and learning in mind. Some of the current work that so for the past year, we've had some great sessions from different presenters. We invite a presenter to each call to focus on some work that they've been doing. So some examples of these have been we've had 3 Atlas Award winners. I know Louisa's going to talk to us a little bit more about Atlas, so I'll let her explain that a little bit more. But these are instructors at various institutions who have used Sakai for teaching and learning and then came and presented to the group their award-winning sessions and projects. We've also focused on, we've gotten updates from the group of folks who've been working on UI, user interface guide for Sakai to build in more consistency in Sakai, etc. So those are some of the topics that we've had over the past year, and upcoming meeting topics will surely include several of the sessions from today, I hope. So some that we've missed and would like to revisit again. So as I mentioned, Matt Burgess, who was just talking to us, Neil and I are facilitators for these calls, and we take turns doing that. And I have some of the key issues, obviously, effectively using technologies for teaching and learning, helping instructors use Sakai effectively, and reviewing and giving feedback on features and enhancements. So how to get involved. Attend these calls. They're great. We spend a few minutes giving some updates on current projects and other cool stuff. And since my time is up, I'm going to stop there. Thanks, Wilma, and thanks, everybody.
Lost my cursor again. Curse you, cursor. Oh, there we go. Ah.
Sorry, Neil, I had muted you because of your chair, so you're unmuted now.
Oh, I thought I had muted myself. Okay, thanks. Thanks, my darn chair. I tried WD-40 on it, and that didn't work. I don't know what to do. It's a comfortable chair, but it likes to squeak. Okay, Perio Teaching and Learning. Oh, so this was a second slide on that, so you can see that. Talking about the different pieces of that. And then we're going on to Atlas, and that's Louisa.
Hi. So I just started my timer and have my 3 minutes. So Apereo Atlas, it stands for Apereo Teaching and Learning Awards. So we play with the acronym a little bit here. It's not a map. It's not an app. So it used to be called TWICIA, Teaching with Sakai Innovation Awards. All right. So we rebranded when we became Apereo. 2 years after that, we have used in the Apereo community.
That doesn't seem to be helping.
Yeah, I think we lost Louisa.
All right, well, how about I just pick up the best I can do unless somebody else has more. I don't have, I'm not super involved in this, but I do think it's important. So I'm happy to pick it up unless somebody else would like to. Okay, maybe somebody can ask, is Louisa there on the chat? So yeah, the Atlas I think is important because it's a way of recognizing how Apereo tools are used in the community, including but not limited to Sakai. And they're working on the next round of Atlas application and their application process. And I do know that they need more people to be involved in that committee. I think they've lost some folks. And so, that's a good example of a committee that doesn't require you to have any technical knowledge whatsoever, doesn't require learning any technical skills like QA testing, and yet you can contribute in a big way by helping recognize your peers and also learning how Sakai and other Apereo tools are being used in really, really cool ways. And maybe get some exposure to that might be inspiring, for your institution. So I really think this is a really great cause, and if you are available to participate in it, talk with Louisa and find out what's involved. I don't think the time commitment is all that great either, so I just wanted to really pitch for them because I think this has been a really great group. It looks like they're looking for to get more applicants. In other words, so if you have faculty at your schools that are using any kinds of Apereo products, whether it's Sakai or Xerte or OpenCast, sounds like they could use more applicants. It looks like they'd like some French and Spanish speakers to help do peer reviewing of the applicants. And that's interesting, video submission as a supplement to PDF application form. So maybe that is helping with people who don't have English as their primary language. I'm not sure if that's the purpose, but that sounds like a pretty fun and interesting way of receiving applications. So if you look, they meet bi-weekly, and I'm guessing there's not a ton of work that needs to go on outside of those meetings, but that's something that Louisa could help you figure out if you're interested. Thank you for letting me know the time's up.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes left for questions. So I don't know if we want to take any questions, or is there anybody else after Louisa?
I think that I was just going to put in a pitch for Open Apereo, no great way, and remind people about that, and that we could use probably 1 or 2 more people on the planning committee there, and we'll probably need people to do proposal reviews, for example, for Sakai. So be on the lookout for that when we get to that point. And I was also supposed to talk, but we only have 5 minutes, about Apereo incubation, which are new projects that are coming into Apereo. So it's not really directly related to Sakai, and Farm, which is how we fundraise for Sakai. But I'd really like to give the people a chance to ask questions. And if they have questions about incubation or Farm, we can answer them. But yeah, I think that'd be a great use of time. So does anyone have any particular area they'd like to hear more about, whether it's incubation and Farm that we didn't really cover, or one of the other kinds of sub-communities, or was it clear how you could get involved? Of the groups, what group is the largest and needing the most help? That's a tough question. What group is the largest? Because, and those are 2 separate things, right? So it's hard to, I'm going to put the largest aside because it's really hard to answer that. But I would say that oh, hey, Louisa, I went ahead and did my best to pitch for you. QA is needing the most help right now, yeah. I mean, I say, in terms of direct impact to Sakai, QA would be probably the one thing we need the most help on. I think we could use a little bit extra help on Docs. We could still use a little more there. And as I mentioned, Atlas, which isn't a direct impact on Sakai, but they could use help too. Sorry?
Can I say a few words? This is Louisa. Thanks. I think in my slides, I forgot to really need a chair of the committee.
You need an Atlas chair?
Because I've been on this position for
Okay, well, you're still breaking
3 years now, even though I want to be, okay.
But I did make a pitch that Atlas needs more committee members. Better? A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, we also need the chair, because the next year need someone to take over.
Okay.
Okay. So it would look into all those specs.
You're still
practices
sorry.
Different. Okay. I highly
So I would definitely talk to Louisa about
recommend a job. Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, we are just about out of time for our session. So thank you all for attending. And I hope you got some interesting information out of it. And please reach out to any of us if you're interested in any of these working groups. And please send some more WD-40 to Neil for his chair.
I thought I was
really
on mute.
loud. No.
I keep putting myself in my little headphone set. I guess my headphone set mute button's lying to me.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
it wasn't working.
That's embarrassing.
Okay. I muted you a few times, but then I kept forgetting to unmute you. So, all right, well, take care, everybody. Thanks for attending our session, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
I apologize on behalf of my chair.